Welcome to another episode of Afterlife Mysteries. I'm Kalila Smith, and tonight I am welcoming again another fellow medium, a physical medium, Silvia Santos. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for returning. We had
It's
so
not,
much fun the last time. A lot of people don't realize there's lots of different ways um, that mediumship comes through. I mean, not everybody is a medium. And for the record, all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. And mediumship manifests in many different ways. You know, a lot of people will start their mediumship development and they say, oh, I'm going to be this kind of medium. And really and truthfully, we don't really pick. We don't pick who comes through or how they come through, and we don't pick how we access it. You know, it's different for everybody. I know another medium who he sees things, which would be clairvoyance, but he sees bends of light. Now, I can't comprehend what that's like because I actually see a panoramic view. You know, and then other mediums hear things. I hear things with this ear right here, but not always. So there's lots of different access to it. You have mental mediumship, and this is your crossing over galleries. This is where people are giving messages. They're either seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling something that's going to indicate to them that your loved one is there, and they're getting telepathic messages from the loved one on the other side, and they're relaying those messages. That's called mental mediumship. All physical mediums also do mental mediumship. Not all mental mediums are physical mediums. Sylvia and I and another young medium have a physical circle where we do physical mediumship. And Sylvia is a very rare medium because very, very few mediums do what is called direct voice. And that is where your loved one sometimes actually speaks through her, and the mannerism and the facial expressions change. She also does automatic writing, and she also has had quite a few cases where there was some transfiguration, where you actually see the spirit of, and in her case, it was her loved ones coming through and overshadowing her face, and you could even actually see her face change somewhat. So, welcome, Sylvia. Let's talk a little bit about automatic writing because, you know, a lot of people just assume that everybody can do that, and they can't. So, when you do automatic writing, you actually are writing, your grandmother's writing through you. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct. Because she's my gatekeeper. That started about 12, 13 years ago. Um, Being a medium since I was young, I used to hear more and see. And I have not developed, the physical medium. I was just seeing. I have my imaginary friends and all that, the same way everybody had it. But about 13 years ago, I would go to sleep and I would say my prayers and everything, and all of a sudden my right hand would start, moving and shaking, and most of the time would be like uncontrolling, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? Am I getting sick? So I started talking back to my family that have, a lineage of mediums. And then my mother said, well, maybe somebody's trying to communicate with you. Why don't you just grab a pen, you know? And that's how it started. It took like, weeks of doing. And then my grandmother, that was really, really connected to me when she was here in life, she started writing. She was the one coming and visiting me and telling me how it's on the other side, what she's doing. And fortunately, and I was couldn't believe, at the beginning, I have a letter that she wrote me when I moved to the United States. And I found it, and it's the same handwriting. And that's how we started communication. I would ask her questions, she will answer me. And I got together with you, and the other mediums, and then we started developing more and more. And there we are now. I bring the loved ones for those people that want to have a physical experience on talking, or getting a message to the loved ones. And I think I just last week I found out that this is so soothing and emotion and healing for the family member that is here receiving the message, because just like you said, I they use my body, they use my voice, they use my hand, and they present the mannerism of how they had it here. So the person there had the feeling, the energy is so strong that they have their loved ones there with them. I don't know if you noticed that, but I being noticed and going back to the readings that I had it and watching other people's doing reading, I can tell that the emotion and the energy, the connection there is very, very strong. So I let them use my body, whenever way they want it. Most of the time, they touch the person that is there, and they, after a while, they tell me, "Oh my goodness, this is what exactly how they used to touch me before. This is exactly how they used to hug me." So it's great. It's great not only for them but for me too, to know that I'm able to do that and bring that person, that energy here and help the person that is going to a grief and miss their loved ones.
I know that a lot of people don't know this. Some people that know us do know this. Is that Sylvia started off when we first started in a circle together. Sylvia, my daughter, started coming through Sylvia and speaking through her. And the first time it happened in a physical séance, table tipping séance, as a matter of fact. And then Sylvia doesn't remember because when Sylvia's in trance, and we'll talk a little bit about trance during the show, but when Sylvia's in trance, she doesn't know, when she comes back, she doesn't remember what happened. Other people experience it, but she is literally not there when the spirits are coming through her. And I'll never forget. And I felt my daughter's essence. I felt her energy coming through Sylvia, and I felt it before Sylvia started speaking. I knew she was present. I knew something was going on. And Sylvia had never done it before. And Sylvia had never spoken before. She was just doing the automatic writing. And when she first started out, all of a sudden she's like hitting me, and she's doing this, and she's hitting me, and we're in the table, and I'm like, okay, something's happening. I'm thinking to myself, something's happening over here, and she's hitting me, hitting me, hitting me, and then all of a sudden she yells out, "Mom!" And I can't even describe what that was like because I knew her voice changed, her mannerism changed, her facial expression changed, and I knew it was my daughter speaking through her.
Yes.
So people do know. People do know. You can tell. I mean, when you go to any medium, you pretty much know. It's either pertaining to you or it's not. And most people know, especially with the physical, um, with the trance mediumship, with the direct voice, you know if it's your loved ones because they're going to say something that's going to let you know. But I always knew.
And they will say something very specific to related to that person. And sometimes they don't need to say anything, just the way my body start acting towards them, they already, recognize, and they break down in tears of joy of being able to have that connection to with them. And sometimes too, I bring somebody that they don't even remember anymore, from years and years that passed, and they were so surprised, and but they had something to say to that person. you know I think I remember one time we brought somebody here that she was expecting one person and somebody else completely different came, and it took a while for her to get it that was, oh, okay, this is for me. And it was good. She did, that person that crossed had to tell these other person, some things, and it was a while that it happened. I really enjoy that. And sometimes I don't go around asking people or doing. And most of the time, it's people that know the other person that came or friends of mine, that come in and they have that great moment. And a month or two after, I get a letter on the mail saying, "Oh my goodness, you don't know how much you helped me, how much I I'm more comfortable, I'm in peace, I'm better, I'm happier because I know that the person that I lost is still thinking of me, we still connected, we still have the energy." And so most of the time as I see that they're here and as I'm writing and give them the message, they don't get it right away. But then when they go home and the time pass, they normally send me a text message or they write me a letter. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I was able to help, but I can't remember exactly. But I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad you understood that. I'm glad that was really, for you and helped you.
Can you explain to budding mediums out there, even people who are just interested, what does the process feel for you when your grandmother comes through you and you start writing? What is happening to you? What's happening to Sylvia while your body's being used to do this?
Well, when I'm writing, um, it's a system that I kind of have it. My grandmother comes in. She's the one that bring the loved ones of the person that is here. For example, if it will be you, um, I do my prayers, I do the things I have to do, and I open the portal of communication. And if it's permitted, my grandmother's going to bring the person that you wanted. And me, Sylvia, I feel like I'm sitting up on the table with them, kind of having tea and a conversation. And my grandmother's always present, and the other person is there, and there's me. And the communication coming in, on my writing. And it comes in Portuguese too. So it is a little bit complicated because my first language is Portuguese and my grandmother spoke Portuguese. So it comes down in Portuguese and I write it, the information. And then my grandmother say, okay, now you go and translate it. And then I translate it to the person and I tell them what they're talking about and showing. And a lot of times I can really see the person, the spirit that is there talking to my grandmother and talking to me. Most of the times I see black and white, unless they really want to make a statement or they want to tell me something very specifically. They show me colors, very vivid, which I've been developing that more and more of seeing more specific things. That is the validation for the person that is here to say, oh, yeah, that pair of blue jeans, they had a favorite pair of blue jeans or shoes, they always wear white shoes. So that's what I see. That's me going there. I just feel like I'm on the table having tea with them, talking to them.
That's great. Yeah. And because a lot of people don't realize, they're like, well, what's happening? How do you do this? I mean, this is nothing she forces. And, in the very beginning, when she started doing the transfiguration and the direct voice, it was either doing a table tipping physical seance or doing what they call cabinet work. Usually, when you're in training for a physical mediumship and just to kind of develop yourself and to see where spirit's going to take you, because not everybody's going to do direct voice, but some people will do the transfiguration, and it's all an experiment. A few years ago, I wrote a book with Sid Patrick called Seance Experiments, and in the seance room, it is all an experiment. We're experimenting with spirit, they're experimenting with us. So everything is, let's see what happens. So Sylvia actually started out like everybody else in what's called a medium's cabinet. And this is it can be a wooden cabinet. Sometimes it's like a cloth cabinet, but it's a contained cabinet. You can even be a closet. I
Yeah.
think for a while we had in one of the rooms at
And I went
when
in
we
the
were at the
closet.
original
I,
center, it was the closet. We created a medium's cabinet in the closet, and you're in the cabinet, and the whole purpose to have it contained is so that that energy builds up, and you put your person who is the physical medium in training, and you put them in the cabinet, and the other mediums are there sending them energy, sending them love, sending them energy to build up, because the whole point, guys, when these spirits come in, it's not just they come in and we talk to them. We have, as medium, have to raise our vibrations. We're raising our vibrations to meet with them, and they're taking theirs down a little bit so that we can make that connection and talk, or deliver a message. So it's real important to build up that energy in the cabinet. And originally we started doing it like many physical mediums in total darkness, in the hopes of what are we going to see. And eventually we started experimenting with a red light. And a lot of mediums nowadays, well, when I was up at Lilydale, a lot of the physical mediums are using the red light. Some in spiritualist say, no, it's got to be in total darkness. Others say it has to be in red light so that you can have validation. So we've had a lot of good luck with the red lights. But since COVID happened and we started doing our physical circles on the internet and not meeting in person, Sylvia started finding out that she could do the very same thing without the cabinet, without the red light, just sitting there
yeah.
doing a video session.
Oh my.
And you've got a video that you're going to share of something that happened just while you were sitting with spirit. And sitting with spirit or sitting in the power, that's when you're just basically trying to build that power inside yourself to make that connection. So she really wasn't doing a whole lot. She wasn't trying to bring anybody forth, and she had something pretty miraculous happen. Can you
Yeah.
tell us what happened when you now, did you feel that when it happened, or you didn't see it until
Yes,
afterwards when you looked at the video?
I did. I feel, and that's another thing I want to talk about it. I don't know if I explained myself right when you say me, Sylvia. What do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I'm doing the automatic writing and I'm sitting, I can see myself up higher, having a tea with the spirit and my grandmother, and I give the message to them. And sometimes the spirit want to use the other parts of my body to touch and hug that person or be close to, and I ask the authorization. They are authorized, and it happens. And that's when that super energy I call connected between me and them. Um, when I'm talking, when it's the spirit that comes towards me, they do not possess my body. I feel like I'm on a meditation area, like with the spirits that I know. I feel who is coming to me. I call my friends, which is your daughter. I can feel her coming. I can feel my great grandfather coming. Um, I can feel their energy, and it makes my body change. They make me feel who they are. And that's why I pass to them. My great great grandfather, when he comes in, I feel like I'm on a jungle, on a meditation, because that was his place where he was an Indian. Um, Stephanie make me feel like I am in a park playing and walking around with butterflies. So all those characteristics that identify them when they were living here in the moment. And that is specifically night that I did on an open setting and I have a red light with me. I felt the presence. I felt the presence of my father, which it's a very different one because he doesn't come much. So it's not like, oh, okay, I know. And he came, and then my grandmother came, and they were all together. And I felt the need that I had to video. And I was still not too sure. And I sent it to you and say, Kalila, do you see what I see? Is that is that what I really see? And it was so perfect right in front of me. And then after I found pictures of them and I sent it, I said, do they look like it? Am I going crazy or what? And it was just beautiful. They were just there, and it changes my body. You know, I feel the strength of their energy. I feel who they are, how they were here. If it's somebody that was very serious or somebody that was sweet or playful, that's how they make me feel. And sitting with the spirits that I've been doing, it's more like a creating, how can I say, friends. You know, they come in, they overshadow me, they talk sometimes they don't, or sometimes they just, you know, dare to make me feel okay. You are this energy. I feel this, and that. A learning process, a learning the spirits, learning the energy so I can get better and better.
Yes, it's always learning. It's always about the connection that we make. I mean, as mediums, this is what we do. We create relationships with our spirits on the other side, and we work with them. I mean, we start off with very, very small, just maybe doing mental mediumship, and then spirit's going to take you where you can go. Like I said, not everybody's going to overshadow. Not everybody's going to do direct voice. It's a very rare thing to do the direct voice. Some people have actual materialization. We've been to seances where people have physically manifested during the sessions, and that's a very, very rare thing to get that kind of physical phenomena happening. But we're very fortunate that it happens in our circle, especially because of Sylvia. And we've seen some pretty miraculous things. And Sylvia doesn't know it, but we test her too. In the very beginning, we tested these spirits. And what I mean by that is we don't just go, oh, hey, look, it's my daughter. That's great. We ask specific questions of the spirit and require them to answer us so they can validate who we are. Because without the validation, it's meaningless. Even with mental mediumship, if you cannot have evidential mediumship, it's worthless, because the whole point of this is to bring comfort to people who are grieving and to prove that life does continue on. But if you walk away and you're not sure that that was your loved one and there was really nothing there that proved it to you, you will always second guess it. So we've had some pretty miraculous things happen. And I say miraculous because really some of the things are just unmistakable. For instance, there was one time we had a circle, and nobody's, Sylvia's never been to my home. We have circles at her house. I have cats. Sylvia's allergic to cats. She's never been to my house. And I live alone with the cats. But so, you know, Sylvia said something one time, and she couldn't have possibly known about it. About a month before our circle, after our last circle, I wanted to get, my daughter's always asking for hot dogs. I wanted to put a hot dog on her altar. And I was in a hurry. I was working, I was in a hurry, and I
One
thought,
1 minute. That wasn't me saying. That was Stephanie
well,
saying.
Stephanie saying it right. So I said, I thought to myself, I'm really in a hurry, and really and truthfully, she's not going to physically eat the hot dog. She just likes it to be there. The essence of it is what your spirits, in certain traditions, you put food on the altar, you make offerings to the spirit of the things they liked, but they're not going to physically eat them because they can't. But they enjoy the essence of it, smelling it, experiencing it that way. So, but I thought, gosh, what would happen if I just didn't cook it? What if I don't heat it up? Who's going to know? What would happen? Is she going to say something? Would she be offended if I did this? So I took the cold hot dog, I put it on the bun, I smeared a little cold chili on it,
You
and
open.
then I didn't have any sprinkly cheese. I didn't have the grated cheese, so I had a slice of American cheese, and I broke it up in little pieces, and I set it on there, and I went and I put it on her altar. And I didn't think much about it. I thought, okay, so Stephanie, sorry, mommy's in a hurry, gotta go. Hopefully this is good enough. Well, about a month went by, and we were in circle, and Stephanie came through Sylvia, and she was very upset, and she looked at me and she said, Mommy, you fed me a cold hot dog. And I'd forgotten about this incident. I said, when have I ever, during your life, fed you a cold hot dog? That never happened. And she said, oh, yes, it did. I saw you, Mommy. I saw what you did. You took that hot dog, and she explained step by step by step all the way to the, she says, and that was the wrong kind of cheese you put on there. And she says, you supposed to have, it's supposed to be hot. Now, my daughter, Stephanie, had Down syndrome, so she spoke like a much younger child. She says, Mommy, it's supposed to be hot, hot with heat. You should have put that in the microwave. And the whole time, this is coming out of Sylvia's mouth. I know it's my daughter. I know Sylvia couldn't have possibly known that this incident happened. Nobody knew but me and apparently Stephanie. And I'm like sinking in the chair trying to crawl under the table because I'm like, oh no. She got upset, but it turned out it was a great experiment because it validated that she can see what I'm doing. She can see what's happening. She knew that it happened, and she was able to express it through Sylvia, which was even more validation. So it was a really, it was embarrassing, but at the same time, it was really, a great experience of validation. Now, when Stephanie comes through you, are you aware, like, where are you when she's actually speaking through you with a direct voice? Where do you go when people are speaking through you?
Like I say, Stephanie, I feel like I'm in a park, jumping and skipping around like more like a child. And then I see dogs, I see cats, I see a bench, and I sit on a bench. And it's very up, childish, having fun on the park. Um, some of the spirits that I recognize, that person, I forgot her name, that she was the first one that started coming. Laura.
Laura. Laura.
Her, I feel like I'm in the presence of the director of a school, somebody very imposing that I have to be sitting and listen. I have to be more aware, like I'm in a class paying attention to something really important. And she barely comes, but I know that. Um, my great grandfather, I'm in the jungle, running around on the river, singing songs. It's about a bunch of herbs and smoke. Um, they give me their signs. That's how I feel. Um, for people that comes that are do readings, a lot of times we started with the automatic reading, and then I'll sometimes we cross over and go to the directed voice. If they are allowed and they're permitted, they use my voice to talk to their loved ones they're here, and they bring me like to places where I can't remember right now, but it's not my familiar environment. I think they bring my energy to their familiar environment that right now I can't recall because it's a one time thing. Now, Stephanie and my other spirits that communicate with me, I'm more familiar. I know where I'm going, I know what's going to happen, and I can even smell now things. So it's pretty much that. And sometimes when I'm doing a reading for somebody, like it was so interesting, and that happens 3 times only. When I bring people to my house, my house start moving. I hear things on the wall, lights blinking, and I thought that would have just happened at my house because of my energy. And one time I was invited to go to this friend of a friend's house. And after the end of the session, we finished, and, it was a great thing for her. And it was all of a sudden, nobody expecting, we didn't even know it was a storm that happened in New Orleans, like those boom, and went down, and her door was locked. And the door opened up, and the whole room, like I felt the table moving around, and like a gush of air came in, turned around, and then left it and locked the door.
Wow.
And the owner of the house was like, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" I said, "Well, I think it was your mom that left, and she had it to make it like I came in, I did what I had to do, and then I left, and that is done. So it was good for me to know that, okay, so things can move around not only in my house, but maybe wherever I go and it's meant to be. Because the person that I was giving the reading, she needed closing. And that's exactly how it felt. It opened, came in, and it went out and it closed, it was done. So that's the other thing that happens to me too.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, and Sylvia's, had some really in other experiences. I mean, like the time um, a couple of years ago, she and I went to Casadega, Florida, to see the physical medium Victor Vogenitz, the late Victor Vogenitz, um, doing his table tipping sessions, and he had, I mean, he was one of the most amazing physical mediums I've ever seen. I mean, he's just absolutely with the table tipping. He was the master of that. He really was. And I'll never forget. Remember when we went there, and we're at this table, and he had invited some other people, just to have other people at the session because they wanted to hear from their loved ones. And at some point, and it's funny because I'm even wearing the dress that I was wearing then because it's got the big flouncy skirt. And at some point, he started describing to me a friend of mine who had passed away that I was very close to. And the table came up and it was on me and there was a lot of heat. And he said, Victor was saying, do you have lower back problems? I'm like, yes. And he said he's trying to give you healing energy to help you. And it was during this time, Sylvia's to my left, and in between me and Sylvia, I felt someone grab at my skirt like this and kind of tug it. And at the same time, Sylvia saw a hand manifest, just this physical hand, and shake my skirt. Do you remember that? Do you remember when that happened? Or were you tranced out too?
I remember it's there, but I don't remember this detail. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that I'm saying here now is that people tell me after. Like I say, I miss all the fun during the time, but like the loved ones they're here telling me, or you telling me, or the other people they are there. That's the things that I remember. What happened, but I remember us there, and but I don't remember those details.
Yeah.
That
While I
day,
felt the tugging, you were saying, I see a hand. I see a hand forming.
yeah, I was really, really, I think, deep on that day, and I don't remember it. That place. It was just awesome. I wish I could have like a underground, area where I could do my things there.
Yeah, it
It's
was pretty
very
amazing.
energetic.
It was very, very energy. Yeah, there was a lot of energy there. But yeah, that's what happened. And you said it right at the time it happened. You said, I think I see a hand forming. You said, I see a fist. And that's when I felt it. So you saw it, I felt it. And that's what validation is, guys. That is what validation is. If I see something, it's just me seeing it. But in the physical seance, in the physical circle, everybody has to experience the same thing in order for it to be validated. It's not okay for one of us to just see or experience it. Everybody has to agree that it actually happened. Otherwise, it's not validated. And that's the big thing with mediumship, especially with physical mediumship. It's all about the validation.
Yes, they come in, and it's a group of us, right? Medians, mental medians too, and they come in to visit and show us one personal thing that we all able to see or feel it. And that's the validation that you're talking about. All of us experience the same thing. Maybe one person will not see or feel it, but the majority will have the same feeling, the same visual thing, of that energy, the spirit that's coming through. It's I miss that. I wish that now
I know, I know. We used to have some fun
everybody.
stuff. Yeah, we used to have some fun things happen
Yes.
back in that seance room. There was one time where Sylvia and I actually saw a 200-pound table get up and levitate across the room. And
Uh,
now, were you awake when that happened? Were you? in trance when that happened?
Hmm.
You
That
didn't
was
see it.
Stephanie really, really strong on there. Like I think she was trying to get attention of something. Um,
She was trying to get Sid in the other room, is what she was trying to do, and he wasn't listening. And I said, if you want to get his attention, I said, if you really want him, you're going to have to do it because he's not hearing me. And that's when the table got up and it went across the room. And when it first started moving, I looked at you and you were entranced. And I was like, okay, nobody's touching the table. Nobody is touching this thing. And it just got up and it flew. Sid actually saw it when he came into the room. He saw it. So he validated it.
yeah, it hit the door in the market.
Yeah.
I think I broke a few tables over there, and that's probably why I did. Oh, we don't have table tipping anymore.
I think we broke quite a few tables over there. I think we really did some serious table tipping. So where do you see your mediumship going from here? Have your spirits told you anything, or do you have, what is the direction you see your mediumship going, or do you just wait until spirit kind of just takes you
Well,
there?
now that these show right now, it's being really great because in the back of my mind, and I'm like, I developed a lot. I remember when I started that I did not know why my hands was moving back and forth to right now that I'm able to help somebody. I'm bringing the loved ones and getting messages. And right now, I'm on the face talking to my spirits more so with my grandmother, getting messages of sending prayers to the universe for those that are crossing over with COVID, for those that are crossing over from a lot of violent actions that's happening here now. So I'm on the phase of sending love and sending prayers and energy to help guide those spirits as they are crossing without knowing what's happening. And more so to protect myself, I think, because they will be around me, they will be around us. Um, I want to just grow more and more. And like I say, I wish we could go back together again, and we will, because I think we were going in a great direction, getting stronger and stronger, um, and helping. And that's the what makes me happy is to hear from them after and say, "My goodness, you don't know how much you changed my life. How much, how better I feel to be able to have that moment with you and connect to my loved ones." Um, I feel like I have a lot to learn, still a lot to experience, but I feel good. I feel really good, and um, I'm still doing my by myself, my sitting with the spirits, getting messages and reading, listen to mediums in Portuguese and English. So I'm just getting a lot of, in right now, and I hope that when we are able to start, getting other people, because um, I feel the energy much better when we have three more mediums together, when we have more people that we can raise up the energy. So
Hmm.
I get really high.
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to get together real soon. As soon as everybody's my
And
shots kick in, you know. But
um,
I've seen a lot of things, the one of the things that was amazing to me is the development as the group when you're in a physical medium group, when you're in any kind of a mediumship group, and if you are a medium and you're studying to be a medium or you're training or developing, we say develop because it's a developing process, but you really should be in a circle. You should sit in a circle with other mediums, and regardless if it's a mental circle or a physical circle, you really need that to develop with your spirits, is to sit in a circle with other mediums. And one of the things that I really noticed, and this just happened recently, right before COVID shut everything down, was that we had started taking sitters in like once a month. We were bringing sitters in. Sylvia had no idea who's coming in. We would have her separate in a room. Zita and I would be in the other room. We would bring guests in, and Sylvia would already be in trance when they went into the room. So she's got no clue what's happening. And I happened to witness one of the last sessions that we did. I did happen to witness a situation where it was a friend of mine who had passed away, and his family members had come in, but his family members had gotten messages from him in the past. So they had gotten a lot of things, but they wanted to try this and see what they would get from Sylvia. And it was one of the first times that I actually witnessed a situation where the person coming through Sylvia and speaking to his loved ones, it was not the loved ones who were necessarily benefiting from the visit, but the spirit on the other side. And that was just a huge aha moment for me and for Zita, where we watched this and it was like, this isn't for them. This is for him. He needed to say what he needed to say. And it was just such a learning experience, and I wanted to do more of that and see where that took us, because it just opened up a whole nother door in my mind for mediumship to, be able to see the mechanics, because it's both sides. I mean, over and over again, we see these things, and it's not just us going, oh, we heard from so-and-so. There's a lot that goes on that other side to make these things happen. And it's energy coming in from both directions. And those spirits sometimes really have to say what they have to say in order for them to develop on their side and to come to closure and so forth.
Exactly. Very much like they are learning there too. As we are learning here, they are learning how to develop to get better and stay in a better place. As it's not something to talk about right now, but there's different levels of energy where they leave and they are going through to learn to be higher and be able to do more things and to have more communication with us here. Um, I think I'm getting a message too, but we may not have time to talk about it.
We've got about 7 or 8 minutes. Go for it.
No, I would have liked for you, because you do such a better job on it, because I'm always in trance, so I can't, explain for real what's happening. Talking about the table tipping, what has happened to me, what's happened, what is that table tipping? What happens to the table? How things, the energy comes through me and go through material things and start moving and giving messages. But we can probably talk about that.
Well, I can briefly explain to people what happens, because a lot of people, even mediums, are not familiar with the table tipping. I mean, this is very few mediums do the table tipping anymore. But what's happening is, basically, if you've ever used a Ouija board or communication board where you have the planchette and you're moving the planchette around on the communication board, and spirit is coming through it, and people have their hands on it to put the energy there, and spirit spells out things on the actual communication board. The table's like a big 200-pound planchette, and basically it's moving around. And if you've never been to a table tipping, it's we actually do them. And
we tip tables,
you have to be aware. We break tables, yes. You have to be aware that you're very limited on what you can say. It's not like direct voice. It's not like your loved one's going to come through. So you have to ask very specific questions, and they have to be yes, no, because the table is going to move like a planchette in response to the questions that are asked. But I've seen tables jump up and down when they get excited. It's almost like they're laughing. We've had tables that started creaking, and it's almost like they're talking back and forth. I've seen tables get up and walk on a couple of legs and walk across the room. I've seen a table fly across the room. So basically what's happening is the mediums are putting their energy there into this material object, and then spirit's coming down, and they're also working through it as well. And the two are meeting, and it's lifting a 200-pound table, basically, and it moves around in response to questions and answers. So, we could do another whole show on that,
yes,
about just on table tipping. But for now, we are actually getting kind of close to the end. So, Sylvia, if somebody wants to get a session from you, how do they reach you?
Oh, that's the thing. I'm still not public. I do for people that know me, that know what I do, that somebody, friends and families, um, and they somehow find me. And I think that's the best thing is like it's meant to be. I don't do this for living. I don't charge people. I take donations. Sometimes they give me a bag of chips or things like that, a flower. um and it's really meant to be, because when I say, how did you find out about me, oh, a friend say, and a friend of a friend. So that's basically how I do now, and I'm still in the learning process. And I forgot to mention to you, this session that we have, the last one, we brought visitors way before COVID, almost a year and a half ago. I have one of my ex co-workers that came. She came to my house last Saturday, and she's like, Sylvia, do you remember you told me this, this, and this, and this on the session? I say, no. She's like, it's been more than a year, and it finally happened. I got my degree, the highest degree
Wow.
that she wanted, and she was a little concerned and not thinking that she could do that. And my grandmother actually was the one that talked to her and say,
Wow.
look, women have power. I worked, I make my way through life, and you should do the same. And she did, and now she got the biggest degree, and she's like, I feel so much better at work now that I'm so much more secure. And after I did that, so that was like, wow, for me. I didn't remember, and it's been more than a year, and finally exactly what the message was, it happened for her.
And you see, guys, that's what it's all about. That's what mediumship's all about. It's not look what I can do, or how much money you make, or how many people you have in a gallery. It's about that. It's about the gratitude that you get helping somebody. So, Sylvia, thank you so very much
Oh,
for
no,
coming
thank
back. This has
you
been
for
so much
having
fun.
me back.
Very soon we will get together again for Circle in person,
Yes,
and we will pick up where we left off. But thank you so very much, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks so much. We
thank
appreciate you
y'all.
coming out and hope you will join us again for another episode of Afterlife Mysteries. And hope you enjoyed this lesson in physical mediumship. Have a wonderful night, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.